Hello students, in this lecture of automobile engineering, we will learn about propeller shaft assembly. This is a part of unit number 2, and in this picture you will see the location of the propeller system which is in between the engine and the axle. Let us see the details. We will learn in this video what is function and necessity of propeller shaft. What are the types of propeller shaft, and function and necessity of universal and slip joint. So shaft, universal joint and slip joint, these are the three components that are used in propeller shaft assembly. What is propeller shaft? A propeller shaft is a circular shaft which is used to transmit the power or rotational motion from the gearbox to the final drive. So it is used to transmit the power or rotational motion from gearbox to the final drive. So from the gearbox to the final drive, the power is transmitted or rotational motion is transmitted from the gearbox to the final drive. The propeller shaft, as the name suggests, propels the vehicle. It propels actually the vehicle. That's why the name is given here, the propeller shaft. Propeller shaft is connecting the drive from gearbox to final drive. Hence, another name it is given to it, that is called as a drive shaft. So, this is another name, propeller shaft or drive shaft. These are the two names to this assembly. What is this assembly? It is the group. It is a group of parts connecting the transmission with the drive wheels. It consists of propeller shaft, also called as a drive shaft, universal joint or constant velocity joint, and slip joint. So universal joint or U joint or constant velocity joint, these are the optional names to this universal joint. It is also called constant velocity joint or sometimes U joint, and another joint which is used here, that is called as a slip joint. So this is a sketch of the propeller shaft. You will see here there is a location of the propeller shaft. At the start you will see there is a location of slip joint, and here at the two ends you will see on the left hand side and on the right hand side to this propeller shaft there are two universal joints. It includes the U joints and slip. Slip is also called as a slider joint. So this slip joint or slip joint or a slider joint to adjust the length of the shaft when the vehicle is on pump. So slip joint is used to adjust the length of the shaft. The propeller shaft is inclined at a particular angle. So propeller shaft is an inclined shaft at a particular angle for the length adjustment with the help of U joints and slip joint. These are the three components. One is called as a shaft, the second one is called as a universal joint, and third one is a slip joint. What is shaft? As this has to withstand the torsional loads. It is usually made of tubular cross section. So the cross section is tubular. It also has to be well balanced to avoid whirling at high speed. Shafts are made up of steel, aluminum or composite material. So these are the materials used for the shaft. Universal joint, one or two universal joints depending upon the type of rear axle drive is used. The universal joint account for the up and down moments of the rear axle when the vehicle is running. Depending upon the type of drive, the one slip joint may be there in the shaft. This serves to adjust the length of the propeller shaft when demanded. So these are the functions of the three components of the propeller shaft assembly. So we'll see here the location of the propeller shaft in rear wheel drive. Here there is a differential at this end between transmission system and here there is a differential. So between the transmission differential there is a location of the propeller shaft. Along with this clutch you will see, then there is a rear axle housing, then a rear axle shaft. Another picture is there for the all-wheel drive. It is also called four-wheel drive. Here you will see front axle differential, rear axle differential. Between these two you will see the location of the propeller shaft. What are the functions? Two important functions of the propeller shaft: to receive the power from the gearbox output shaft and without any change in speed transmit to the input shaft of the differential for onward transmission to the rear axle and wheels. This is the first function. And second function, to cope with the difference in line with the level of gearbox output shaft and the differential input pinion shaft. So these are the two important functions that should be performed by the propeller shaft. What should be the requirement in the propeller shaft? The propeller shaft should have high torsional strength. It should be toughened and hardened. It should be efficiently jointed. Then it should be dynamically balanced. And last one is it should reduce thrust load. So these are some of the requirements that should be there inside the propeller shaft. What are the types of propeller shaft? There are two types. One is called as a torque tube propeller shaft, and number two is Hotchkiss type of propeller shaft. Schematically, you will see the two figures. One is for Hotchkiss drive and another is called as a torque tube drive. What is the difference? You will find here in these two sketches. Number one, Hotchkiss drive. You will see there is a propeller shaft. At the beginning of this propeller shaft, there is a sliding joint, and at the end you will see there is a universal joint. But what you are observing here, there is a torque tube. Inside that torque tube there is a propeller shaft. Along with that you will see here there is a cup, and inside this cup there is a universal joint. There is no slip joint here. After that you will see there is a lip spring. Here this is a lip spring. This is a lip spring. You will see these are attached to the main frame by the bracket and shackle. Here the lip spring is attached with only two shackles at this front end and at the back end. So this way schematically we can see what the difference between these two types of shaft. What is the difference then actually? In Hotchkiss drive, this is open type of propeller shaft, and torque tube drive, propeller shaft is housed in a tube called as a torque tube. So this is a torque tube here, and here there is a propeller shaft which is open. Hotchkiss drive, the universal joints is used, one at the front and second rear end. Two universal joints, here one and here also. Here one universal joint is used at the front end in the cup. Slip joint is used to accommodate change in length, but in case of torque tube drive you will see there is no slip joint used. So lip spring is shackled at the rear and the bracket at the front end. Here both ends of the lip spring are shackled. It is used in heavy vehicles like bus and trucks, Hotchkiss drives, and it is used in vehicles like cars. So torque tube drives are used in a car. So these are some of the points which can differentiate between Hotchkiss drive and torque tube drive. What is universal joint then? Now we will study this. What is universal joint? U joint, also called, it is also called constant velocity joint, is also called as a constant velocity joint. We will study the details about this. You will see here U joint, which is having the yoke on the left hand side and another yoke on the right hand side. Similarly, by the different color pictures you will see the driving yoke and the driven yoke. Both the figures are same, and between that there is a cross piece. So universal joint allows driving torque to be carried through two shafts that are at an angle with each other. A simple universal joint consists of Y-shaped yoke, one on the driving shaft and other on the driven shaft. The four arms of the spider are assembled in needle bearing in the two yokes. The driving shaft and yoke force the spider to rotate. The other two trunnions of the spider then cause the driven yoke to rotate. When the two shafts are at an angle with each other, the needle bearing permit the yoke to swing around the trunnions with each revolution. A simple universal joint does not transmit the motion uniformly when the shafts are operating at an angle. Because of this, two universal joints are used in vehicle, one between the gearbox and the propeller shaft and other between the propeller shaft and the differential pinion shaft. So this way, this is the role of universal joint. What is slip joint? This is a sketch of the slip joint. You will see this is a slip joint. This is a propeller shaft, universal joint at this end, and this is a slip joint. What is this? Slip joint is attached to the driven yoke in order to increase or decrease the length of the propeller shaft. The function is different of the slip joint. It has outside splines on the shaft. So these are the splines. Splines are attached and matching internal splines in the mating hollow shaft to the yoke. When assembled, the Splines cause the shaft to rotate together while they can move back and forth. This changes the length of the propeller shaft. In this way, we have studied this propeller shaft assembly. We can have these references. You can search more information by using these links. Thank you very much.